Good morning to everybody, and thank you, Angela, for introduction. I'm just wondering how you are going to use that gong, whether for sound or for smashing it on my head, so then I better control the time. I think that, I'm not here for housekeeping remarks, but I would like to invite those standing there. There are plenty of spaces here in front and in the middle. So you should come down and have a seat. I think it's, well, Angela, it's easy to for the hierarchy to support if the job is done by somebody. Yeah, so I don't think that you really need to thank. We need to thank you for a great idea, but to thank also to those organizing the events before, because this is not the first, and if I'm not mistaken, it was something longer than a year ago. I think in the end of February last year, when we had the first event in Brussels in the Berlaymont building about the new narrative. You have done a good job always. I'm getting a briefing and where my colleagues are telling me what I'm supposed to say, which is useful because very often I don't know what to say. And Angela did a great job, and I think it's a very good briefing with many important issues. And I was thinking, which is not so common for the high-level bureaucrats to think that much, what I'm supposed to say. And I'm still not sure what I'm supposed to say, because I think that the topic is so complicated. Topic is so big that whatever I say, I would always have a feeling that I said only 5% of what I was supposed to say. And it's so important, and for me personally, because I'm really attached to it personally, because I had the hard time in my life fighting for quality of science when I was a scientist. And I went through many very tough conflicts in different committees for PhD and for peer reviews, etc. When I was striving for quality, and it's not so deeply rooted in the scientific community, the quality. So it's not easy. And if we talk about integrity, there is also another very personal dimension. I'm old enough to spend 28 years in the communist country, where the integrity was a luxury which was life-threatening. And I still remember it very well, that it was not easy to keep the integrity. So that's why it's I'm living through this all my life. So that's why it's for me very important, very big, very complex issue. And I'm not sure if we have the solution for this big challenge, because if I'm about to describe, and I mentioned this a year ago at the opening of the seminar in Brussels, I see three challenges in front of science, technology, innovation, and one of those challenges is definitely integrity. And I think that we have exponential jump or exponential increase of different signs of non-integrity, falsified science, the low quality of science. And for me, it's life-threatening for science and its position in the society. I think it's so important, and I'm not sure that we are really recognizing it. So, but let me go maybe to the stratosphere, and then to try to descend on the Earth slowly. Coming to the stratosphere, what I see, what I feel, that what is the problem in science? It's science on its own. And when this problem, and I'm reflecting when this problem started, I'm always ending somewhere in 18th century. And I think that this is where this reductionism, when this rationalism, linear rational extrapolations, which are killing complexity, holistic understanding, it started somewhere there, where the science became arrogant. And I think that scientists are, in a way, arrogant. And I think this was this Enlightenment period where we thought that we understand everything. And then with the also Industrial Revolution, there was this shift towards hard sciences, technical sciences, technologies, and we had this impression that we can describe everything, we can understand everything, we can replicate everything. And I think this is the source of the arrogance, and this arrogance is in a way preventing the science to see the complexity of the issues. And I think that the world was complex all the time, even in 18th century, 19th century. But we are feeling this complexity and this incapacity to embrace, understand complexity ever more today, because everything is closer, everything is faster. And I think that that's why we are feeling it so urgently. But it was complex even before, obviously. But there were less people, less scientists, less knowledge, less data, and everything was much smaller. And the distances were much bigger than they are now. So that's why we have now this feeling of urgency to tackle this issue. And it's not only a feeling, unfortunately, but it is a reality. So then science became central part of the society. We have the tendency of thinking that science is sidelined and scientists are not being listened, or they don't have a privileged place in the society, but I don't think that it's true. That over the past few hundred years, 200 years, I would say, the science became central part of the society. Science is still trusted by citizens, and we need to ask ourselves whether this is not slightly exaggerated, whether really science deserves this prominent place and prominent space, central place, because science is not always right. Science has been very often very wrong, and the scientists were very wrong. But still, even if we see slight decline, if I take Eurobarometer, which is being done on, I think, every 2 years, there are some questions about the science. I think that still there is a slight decline in the trust of the society, but it's still very high. And I think that it's not easy, it's not difficult to lose it. And I was often referring to this post-Fukushima syndrome in Japan, where there was an extremely high, I think it was near 80%, the level of the trust in science and technology in Japan. And after Fukushima, within a few months, it went down to 35–40%. And they never recovered fully. Yeah, they recovered that. And that was when I was in Japan, year after Fukushima, and when I was talking to Science and Technology Agency people, they were saying this is the most harmful and most difficult impact of Fukushima is lost in science, technology, engineering in Japan, where this was. Okay, so then this is this stratospheric reflection, but I think that we always need to have this kind of dimension and reflect that we need to be a little bit more humble. And I see this and it's very important for JRC, because as Sven said, and we are boundary organization. We are in the field of science, but we are also in the field of policy making. So then wrong science is having immediate impact on legislation, policy, and that means on citizens. It's not just the wrong paper published in a peer-reviewed journal. It's not that harmful. Obviously, it's not good if it's wrong, but it's not that harmful. But if the policy design based on the wrong evidence, is badly influencing our lives, citizens, industry, whatever, then we have a huge problem. So I think that we need to be very humbled and we need to mitigate for it. And I think that I see this scientific arrogance in a way also here inside JRC. Policymakers, you don't talk to us. We are independent. And I think that this is completely wrong, and I will come to it, that this is not a right approach. So then, what are maybe 5 dimensions which I would like to briefly mention, which are in a way influencing, apart from this scientific arrogance or reductionism, rationalism, and all these things which are linked to the technologization of the society and science. I would see one obviously important, it's integrity, it's reproducibility, it's a governance of science, and it's quantification of science and issue of quantifications as such. And then behaviors, cognitive biases. And we are not talking very often about that, but I think it is extremely important. And scientists are humans, and they are not spared of this dimension neither. So integrity, I think that that's a fundament, an absolutely fundamental element of all of it. I see many colleagues from Joint Research Center in the room, so I hope you read the draft strategy which I'm proposing to our Board of Governors and our Commissioner. It's online for feedback from you, and if you see the values and the chapter which is the longest, because the strategy which is long-term strategy for JRC until 2030, this is something where we have not, we need to mention many things. But I think that the longest chapter is about the values. And the longest part of this longest chapter is about integrity. And I think that this is absolutely crucial for me, because we never recognize that we have 4 dimensions of our integrity which we need to reflect on in JRC. But that's not about, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to mention that this integrity is absolutely fundamental, because this is where we have a lot of, obviously, reproducibility, and I'm sure that you will be talking during the seminar about this element and this issue. Transparency, reproducibility, transparency of data, I think this is very important. Then the governance of science. I think that if we have one element which is not working well, is a governance of science, and governance of science, promotion of scientists, definition of excellence. I personally, I consider our understanding of excellence as totally perverse, and I'm really very negative about that. And well, that's why also in the strategy we have 2 pages about scientific excellence, where we are trying for the first time to define slightly differently. Obviously, we cannot depart from all traditional understanding of excellence, but I think that each organization should define its own excellence, what we think is excellent science, and we are coming with multidimensional definition of what we think is science. So then quantification. Quantification obviously is an obsession of the current society. We all want to see numbers. Whatever stupid number it is, if it is a number, we tend to believe it. And I think that it was 100 years ago when what Einstein said, what he said about quantification of things and not quantification of things. So this is, I think, a bit dangerous for the society, for the science, all this obsession by numbers. And I think that was a very good seminar you organized last year, I think it was in June, about quantification, about the importance of digits. Unfortunately, there were not that many people as there are today, but it would be very useful for all of you to be there, but for all scientists to be there, because I think that this is what we are doing. And this is leading into some issue which is very pertinent for us and for the policy science interaction, and that's modeling. Now, whatever is modeled, we believe in it. And we know very well that every model is just an approximation of reality. It's not an absolute number, it's not an absolute value. So I think that these are all issues which are linked to quantifications, which are extremely dangerous. We have many traps, we have many dangers there. And if we are not humbled, if we are too arrogant to play with the numbers, we can make a lot of harm. So I think that this is something which deserves quite a lot of attention. And then last element, which I never actually saw mentioning, and that's this cognitive biases in science. There is quite a high level of evidence about the importance of behavioral sciences, that how we behave, how we think is not straightforward, that our brain is working in a certain way. There is a growing scientific evidence that how we make decision is very strange and very often not right. Why we think that science and scientists are spared of this functioning of brain? Why we would think that a scientist's brain is functioning in a different way? I'm not sure, and I'm pretty sure that it's not functioning in a different way. And we can have these elements like tunneling, where we see something what we want to achieve, and we tend to ignore everything what is around. I think it's happening very often in science. I have my preconceived idea, and I ignore the evidence, but it's not the issue of integrity. It's issue of behavioral science. It's not that I want to cheat. And simply, my brain is focused on something and I tend to ignore. This is very well documented by behavioral scientists, that this is how we function. This is how people's brain is working. And scientists' brain is working in the same way. So I think that we need to have this understanding and the knowledge that the brain is sometimes failing to see the complex things, that the brain is sometimes ignoring the facts which are there. And how many times and how often, and we see this in a society, that we are running into difficulties in Europe, but we tend to ignore it. Because we have this tunneling effect on the society, and how many times in the history this tunneling effect of the society happened and led into catastrophe, and we are coming to the same catastrophe again and again. And I think that this is also something which is linked to science. Okay, I don't want to have this gong ended on my head, Angela. So then let me slowly descend lower and lower to the earth. What we can do? Obviously, there is not one silver bullet and one clear-cut solution. How I see this? I have how many? Maybe 5 dimensions, which I would see as those which we need to promote. And first is culture of quality. I think that this is important. We need to create. As we are saying that we need to have a culture of safety, we need to have a culture of security, we need to have also a culture of quality. If in the organization we value quality, we strive for equality, high standards, if we create this culture around us, I think it will, in a way, on its own, educate people and bring people with us in. So it must be culture of quality, integrity, culture of doubting, culture of questioning, culture of transparency, culture of peer review, and this is, for me, absolutely fundamental element in the ethos of each organization, and first of all, scientific organization. If you have the culture of the silos, boxes, isolation, imposing of the truths, and not questioning, not organization of trust, so then I think that we will not achieve the quality whatever we do. So then the second dimension is dialogue and interaction, and here I'm with the specificity of the Joint Research Center and interaction with the policymakers. I think that if, and I'm convinced that the science to policy interaction is a specific field, whether the specific field of policy or a specific field of science, I'm not sure. But it is a very specific field with its own rules and its own methodologies and its own instruments. And it cannot, and the basis of it is interaction. You cannot provide good evidence to the policymakers without deep understanding of the policy and frequent interaction with the policymakers. Because policy question is not a research question, and policy finding, research finding is not the answer to the policy question. There needs to be a lot of translation, there needs to be a lot of transformation before it can be used. So I think that this is absolutely fundamental, and all those dropping on the heads of policymakers, the 500-page reports coming from scientists is not going to help and is not going to solve anything. Only very intimate collaboration with obviously integrity imperative, with clearly separation what is interaction about understanding and what is in a way masterminding or influencing or policy-based evidence, then this is something completely different. But I think that with integrity, very strong integrity, we need to have very intimate and very deep interaction and understanding. So, but it should be with the policymakers, it should be with the arts and humanities. And I'm very happy to see these two artists with us, because I think this is something which has been forgotten a long time ago. Again, since this first industrial revolution, the science and technology went one way and art and humanities the other way. And I think it's high time to come back together, because that is the way how we can improve this culture of quality, how we can improve this holistic understanding, multidimensional understanding of these issues. And that's the imperative, and we have to do. And we are trying to do it in JRC. And I think that last year's Resonance Festival, which we did, I think is a good sign that we are taking it seriously. But also this interaction and dialogue with the technology industry must take place as well, because this is also an important element. So what we did, I think that I mentioned Resonance, I mentioned this seminars organized by Angela and her team, but also we created and we launched this year, 2 weeks ago, Policy Innovation Laboratory in Jersey. So then that's the biggest contribution to the innovation of the policy making. This is the space, that's the infrastructure. It's a physical, virtual infrastructure where we bring the policymakers, stakeholders, but also we bring artists, we bring behavioral scientists, we bring design thinkers, ethnographers, applied psychologists together to design in a safe space and in a safe place new policies. So we started already 1.5 years ago, but we did not announce it because it's still something which is considered as a voodoo science by both policymakers and scientists. So we wanted to accumulate a certain number of successful projects. Now we have several successful projects, so we were able to go public because we know that now we have a support of many, and they witness the added value of it. So then I think that what is my third dimension is an experimentation in quality measurement, quality assessment. I think that we need to strive for the new methods. We need to experiment with the new methods, new approaches, how to ensure and how to promote and measure the quality. So we need to try to identify biases. We need to have a clarity about sensitivity. We need to promote transparency, etc. And then the fourth dimension is an openness and networking. Obviously, as I am saying that we need to be open inside the organization, each organization must be open to network with the others. And I think that that's obvious, but it's not happening all the time. So I think that this is extremely important in that direction. And then the last dimension is culture of training. And here I'm coming totally on the earth, because I'm coming with the concrete request to you that you think today and tomorrow, what should be the curriculum of the training, because we don't have the training in Jersey on the quality of science. At least I'm not aware of it. As we did not have until last year, and I think that Stephen here is one of the fathers of the training, what does it mean, science to policy interaction? Imagine that this organization is for decades working in science and policy interaction, but there was no training for scientists. And we have a lot of scientists coming for a few years, and they are coming from academia and they have no clue what does it mean, because we don't talk about that. We don't provide the training, what we are supposed to do. So, but the same is with the quality. I think that we need to have this kind of whatever form of the training, and obviously this series of workshops is a part of the training environment, but I would like to go a little bit beyond. I think that we need to, and that I think would be excellent, at least for me, deliverable of these 2 days from you, if I get a nice curriculum which can be then split into half day or 1 week training, or the way how we should, because it can be the training which is recurrent, that people are coming to refresh, sort of mental exercise, which we need to do all the time to remember that there is something which is called quality and integrity, and we need to think of it all the time. Okay, so that is all what I'm now able to say within the time limits. Obviously, we can talk, and I can talk about this for a long time, but I'm conscious about the capacity of human brain, and it's easy to speak and it's very difficult to listen, I know. So then I will stop here. So I leave a few those few comments with you for reflection. I will be listening to some of you. I'm here until lunchtime, and then I need to go to some other meetings. I would love to stay, as I would love to stay in all the workshops organized by Angela, because they are so stimulating and so rightly selected. I mean, the topics. But that's not always possible. But I wish you a pleasant 2 days, very refreshing, and enjoy staying with us here in Ispra, and all the best. Thank you.